So I'm Master of Ceremonies. I'm president here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dave Purcell. Just if Michael watches the video, we want to just say that Michael, we're just miserable without you. Kind of feels like you're here. Yeah. I'm not going to go into a real extensive buildup. I just want to go over a few of the events that are coming up. On June 1st, we're about to start our personal project or a series. I think this is a really cool thing to do. Bruce Ryman came up with this a couple of years ago. We used to have a search topic years ago where we would go out and try to find photos. And then we switched over to this. We call it a personal project. This year is going to start on June 1st and end on July 24th. So what this is you come up with a topic that you like, no matter what it is. It can be an idea. It could be, landscapes in Utah. It could be photos taken with a 35 millimeter lens. It could be sunsets. It can be whatever topic it is. And we're allowed to submit up to 8 photos. But it can be less than that. And what this is really useful for is if you ever want to get shown in a gallery or trying to submit your work for a magazine, what they'll say is, do you have a series or a personal project? And they'll make sure that you give them a coherent story. At any rate, these topics are really fun. And then what's the reward? I
The
can't remember.
prizes are sorted by beginner, intermediate, advanced, and pro, so you don't compete with the others. And it'll be first place is your membership for a year free. Second place is half off membership, and third place is $5 off your membership.
I'm just going to cover some of the competitions coming up. The next competition is June 4th, and that's open. So any topic goes. On the 18th, June 18th, we're going to have a presentation by Jürgen Lombert, and it's long exposure daylight pictures. So I assume he's using filters or ND filters or something.
Must come to see.
On July 2nd, we have an exhibition night. So if you want to just throw your photos in and tell a little story, that's always fun. And you get not a professional critique, but you do have the club giving you ideas as to where you might make room for improvement, or it's just a fantastic photo. I think you just mentioned this on July 23rd. We're going to go over our projects, our series. And then in August, let's see, I don't have the date, the competition.
6th of August.
6th of August. It's a themed competition from ground level. We also have a couple cool things coming up. Contacts over at the Arapahoe Community College. And we have one of their exhibition rooms. And that's going to be from August 5th to August 20th. So we might have mentioned it in one of our last emails. What we want to do is maybe get up to 4 photos from people, or you can submit up to 4. And it's just the club, we're doing intermediate, advanced, whatever group. And it's going to be cool. You'll have your own little part of the exhibition hall. So we're not sure if we're going to anticipate, 30 photos or 100 photos, but this place can hold up to approximately over 100, Bruce?
Yes.
So we'll keep you informed. What other, do you want to expand on that?
Well, so what we want to encourage people to do is, you don't think of this, if you want to, we want everybody to put some images in, because it's a huge space, it's a beautiful space. But don't fret over like, I've got to spend $400 to print something. We did a lot of prints there when we did our Morocco show on just mat board. The only requirement that your image really needs is a wire to hang it. So, and we'll show you how you can just use hot glue and a piece of foam and You can attach a wire to the back of a piece of foam core. So you don't have to spend a ton of money. I mean, I would say that you can sell the images there. It's probably not, I mean, there's a lot of traffic, but there's probably not a people that, because they're college students, so they're not gonna buy a lot of stuff. Unless, I mean, you could price stuff reasonably. They do take a 35% commission, so build that into your price. But really what we want is for everybody to at least have maybe one image. I mean, it's a nice gallery. It will be up for, from the 5th through the 20th. We'll have a closing reception on the 20th from 5 to 7 that you can invite people to. And then the gallery is open during the week. So if people, tell people about it, they can come see your images and stuff like that.
Our exhibition.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to put something in. An image, what a cool place to have your friends and family stop by, see your images on display. And we'll help you, need help.
Here's a video of the space.
Like I said, you don't have to spend a lot of money on your photos. You want to make a print and spray it with some glue, put it on a piece of cardboard, it's fun.
Yeah, this is really, this was the Morocco. It looks like the Morocco display that we had there. Some of our members had taken a trip and they invited us there. And it was just pretty spectacular. So we have a lot of wall space. And I'd love to see everybody have at least one or two pictures.
There's two of the
there.
famous people right there.
Oh, yeah, there's Carolyn,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it's a pretty cool place. And then everybody from Arapahoe Community College can wander in. We're probably gonna have some sort of a voting system and, yeah, we'll probably charge a few dollars to submit and then refund the money, and that'll be really nice to have some prize money. The other thing that we're gonna have towards the end of the year that I want people to start to think about right now is a Lightroom workshop. We have a gentleman, Eric Hegman, who's given a presentation for the club before, and he's going to do a Saturday workshop. And it's mostly geared for beginner and intermediates, but we've been told that there will be a few very pro tips thrown in, so I think it probably will benefit. And the way that Lightroom and Photoshop have been changing these days, I mean, it's just one thing after another is being added and they're just really cool. So, and I think the cost is $55. September 13th. So we're doing it in the fall when we're not go crazy busy with vacations and it's not into the Christmas season yet and whatever. So I think it's been timed pretty well and on a Saturday. So, with that, I'd like to go ahead.
I just wanted to let people know on submitting, some of the new members may not understand. I know because I've had different people, new members, be confused about our submission for our competitions or exhibitions. Can be any number of, 4 photos. It could be color or black and white. But for our competitions, you're limited to 4 photos. But you're limited, in those 4 photos, you're limited to 2 black and white and 2 color. So you could submit, that's the maximum that you could do. But I know it was confusing to people. They thought they could submit, 4 color or whatever. So I just wanted to explain that. It's just to, you have 4 pictures, limited to 2 color and 2 black and white.
Okay.
I just have one quick,
Yeah.
on the photo project,
Mhm.
it's more about storytelling than it is perfection of the images.
Yeah, I would say that,
Okay.
I mean,
And are the images themselves alone to speak to the story, or is what you submit, are you speaking to the photos?
Did we have, I think last year when we submitted, we actually had the people put up the photos and describe what their topic was and how if there was any intricacies to this is the story I'm telling or whatever it might be.
Yeah,
But-
you get a chance to explain at the beginning, say, this was what my project was, this is what I was trying to capture. And then we don't vote on the technical expertise of the images per se. We try to look at the images as how did they relate to what you were trying to portray? And then we'll vote on the project as a whole.
And on the project, there were some people last year that submitted saying, hey, I'm looking at, shall I say, depth of field or shutter speed. So they were experimenting with that, and then they showed their series of pictures of what they did with that. So it could be a personal growth project or along that line as well.
Yeah, I mean, the topics were crazy, I think we had some motion ones and the topic could be blue, or whatever you want to be, but as long as it's one coherent, not individual stuff. If it's a bunch of portraits or portraits done downtown at the Brown Palace or, the more specific, the better, but, yeah, I think, abstracts, anything goes, architecture.
If
Once you get into something that's just travel, then that's a little bit too vague, because it could be a travel photo from this place and this place and this place. We'll try to be more specific, but like I said, the whole purpose was for me, especially with the Santa Fe Arts Street and stuff like that, people are really trying to submit to those galleries these days. And a number of our club members have displays down there. So this kind of gets you thinking that way.
Fireworks. The setup, right?
Yes.
You went through a series of the setup. I can't remember the room. You had 4 pictures to the final, display. So.
And if you want, on the YouTube, there it is, last year's projects review. You can watch it, see what people submitted, but don't forget about the videos. You can always go back and see what you wanted to see. If you go up to, let's go here, good question. You go to homepage, about us, members, video arc, and there is a password, which has been in the emails that I've sent out. So yeah, the emails I send out recently, the very bottom of those emails I usually have, don't forget about the video archive. And if nothing else, Ray, just email me and I'll send it to you.
Okay, now let's get into the meat of this, which we have Roger Frame on the Galapagos Islands. He was kind enough to come up with a introduction. So this is the first time I'm reading it, so I'm probably gonna have to apologize to you, Roger, immediately for doing it. But like so many of us, love for photography, got involved in a lot of work and then back into this, but this will go tell you a little bit about what his story is. Roger Frame started taking photos with his Kodak Brownie camera as a child. At Denison University, he took photos of soccer games for the college newspaper. They gave him rolls of film to take 200 shots each game, which they would develop and select one to print. Apparently, they either liked his shots or were short-staffed, and they soon added drama productions to his photographic schedule, probably because he had directed 2 drama productions in high school. After receiving his master's degree in clinical psychology from Western Michigan University and his PhD from the school psychology from Michigan State University, Roger served in a variety of psychology-related positions in mental health centers, schools, university, private practice, and the Psychological Corporation and Harcourt Assessment. At one point, he was president of the Florida Society of Psychotherapists, a group of Florida mental health practitioners in private practice. So this is going to be a deep, deep dive into the Galapagos.
We know why he's at this club now.
Yes.
Pet project.
And hardcore, he has territory included most of the United States, west of the Mississippi River, including Texas. After his presentations, he had time to photograph local attractions across the western United States, so his amateur photography increased. One day, He rather liked the photo he took in Lake Tahoe, so he had an 8x10 print made. When he went to pick up the print, the clerk commented on how much he liked the print. And like so many of us, that really encouraged, when you get some encouragement, that's really fantastic. When Harcourt Assessment was acquired by another company, his job was eliminated, so he decided to become a consultant. Consultants need a book to establish credibility, so he wrote a book, Don't Carve the Turkey with a Chainsaw, Resolving Family Conflicts, which won 3 first place awards in its category, family or conflict resolution, and one of 8 best books in the category by Global eBooks Award. He didn't do much photography during this time, but when he retired, he resumed his love for photography. And I'm glad you did, because I love the photos so far I've seen of yours. To him, it changes the whole way we look at the world when there's not a camera in your hands. When he moved to Heritage Eagle Bend in Aurora, he soon became president of the Heritage Eagle Bend Photo Club, where he was very successful and getting stimulating speakers by looking at the photo or Lone Tree Photo Club's website and seeing who they had scheduled to speak. Those speakers have always agreed to speak at his club as well. Roger has visited all 50 states, 7 continents. So here we go. He's going to present Galapagos Islands.
Be careful what you
I guess-
say, Roger.
Yeah, Roger. So Roger Frame, I have to ask, is it true that Disney got framed Roger Rabbit? Or with that play on words there?
Oh, people say that all the time, and for people to remember my name, I sometimes tell them if they have difficulty, it would just think of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Well,
So,
I've asked him, and he says that there might be a hot picture of Jessica Rabbit in one of these slides. So
okay, so to begin, we're talking about the Galapagos Islands. I don't know if everybody knows where they are. So I included a map here to show right down here are where the Galapagos Islands are. This black line is the equator coming across. So you're right about at the equator. And they're part of Ecuador. They're about 600 miles off the coast of Ecuador. And so that your plane takes about 3 hours to get from the capital city to the Galapagos Islands. There's 3 different airports on the islands if you want to take that way. Now, one of the things that you probably heard was that Charles Darwin had a lot of his theories were inspired by his stay in the Galapagos Islands. And so that it was sort of the idea of what are the origins of the species, and the idea that species develop over time and across generations, depending on what their environment is like, and they change. So why? First of all, what was Charles Darwin doing in the Galapagos Islands in the first place? The reason that he's there was that back in the 1700s, the ship's captains were the only educated people on the ships. And so they decided that they were going to hire an educated person to accompany him so he'd have somebody to talk to. So they hired Charles Darwin to go on this HMS Beagle to go on this voyage that was going to be 3 years long. Unfortunately, what Charles Darwin didn't realize was that he gets seasick real easy. Now he's going to be going around the Horn of South America, some of the roughest waters of the world, and for 3 years. So Charles Darwin was getting on land anytime he possibly could, and was on the Galapagos Islands, going and traipsing across these different islands, going and taking a look at the different things, and he noticed all these different kinds of animals, and there's lots of different animals in a fairly close period of time, and they're all quite different. So why would there be so many different animals in such a short area that's going on? Well, in the Galapagos Islands, you've got 4 different currents that are coming in. 2 of them are cold water, the Cromwell Current and Humboldt Current. And you've got then the Panama Flow and the South Equatorial Current that are warm water. So you've got 2 different kinds of situations. The warm water generally are bringing in more plant life and other kinds of stuff. The cold water tends to be clearer. So if you're going to go scuba diving, then you probably want to be going up into this area because that's going to be the clearest water. However, if you want to see plants and animals and other stuff like that, then you'll be down more in the southern area, which is where we were, because that's what we wanted to do. So when you go and take a look at the Galapagos Islands, a larger picture here, you fly into, this is the main airport here in Isabatra, Batra. And from there, you generally take boats to wherever you want to go. There's only 4 islands in the whole place that are inhabited by humans. So that you're going to be taking a boat to get there. You have a choice of going from one location and then taking day trips out to various different places, or getting a boat that will take you around, in which case you'll get a much bigger variety and see what's going on. We took a boat and essentially went along here, down around the southern area here, came up here. So we did that circle because that's where there's more animals, which is what I was interested in photographing. But this was not a photography cruise by itself. What it did have as an advantage was that there are only 16 people on the boat. So that's what we did. And we were on the Endemic, which was a great boat, and had nice accommodations. And when we went to breakfast each morning, then the maid went and, of course, cleaned up the room, but she also went and made your clean towels into shapes of animals. So one day we had this crab, another one was a penguin, and this person here that she was photographing, or that she was folding the towels in the shapes of that, which I got a big kick out of. I wonder if there's any evolution going on there. And here's the dining area. So you can see, 16 people isn't a lot of people. And I generally, when we went to any one location, was toward the back of the thing, so I could take my photographs and do what I wanted as we were going on. Now, the first of the animals that I'm going to show tonight is the blue-footed booby. Now, if you're ever going to take a picture of a blue-footed booby and put it on Instagram, you can't go and use the name blue-footed booby because they'll ban it and it won't go up. When I tried to post it, they wouldn't post it. However, if I removed the name, then they were happy. So the blue-footed boobies are named, obviously, for their blue feet. And they get their feet blue because of the food that they eat. which are your sardines, mackerel, that kind of thing. So you have blue fish that they're eating, and the bluer the feet, the more fish that they're likely to have been able to successfully catch. So when mating season comes along, then one of the things that the gals are looking for is how blue are your feet. Now, the other thing, I wore my blue tennis shoes here tonight in honor of that. And the other thing that they're looking for is how well can you dance? So you put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you put your right foot in, and you shake it all about. And you do that with your left foot and go back with your right foot and maybe shake your wings a little bit and see what's going on. And if she's pretty impressed, then you might get a result like that. So that's the blue-footed boobies. Wonderful bird. And you might think that, well, they've got a pretty good life there, which in fact they do have, except that they have the great frigate birds. And the great frigate birds, how they get their food isn't by going and eating fish or getting fish. Rather, they go and land on other birds' backs and go and peck them until they vomit. And then they go and eat the vomit. This is a male, you can tell because of the red pouch here. And here's the female. And you can see that there's a hook on the end of that beak that could get pretty intense if it was pecking at you. Now, the males, in order to attract a lady, will go and try to blow up this red part on their chest and be very impressive with how they do that. Now, what I always wondered is, you've got this beak here with that hook coming down. How many times does that go and pop their bubble? But I never saw it ever happening that way. So, apparently they don't have to worry about it too much. However, the women go and take a look at it and make an assessment of what they see and try to make a decision. So ladies here, we can vote. How many of you think that this bird would go for bird number 1? Bird number 2? Bird number 3? Bird number 2? That's the one I thought she was going to go for too. It wasn't, it was bird number 3. So just taking a look at them might not be a good reason to do that. You might need to go and interview them and get a little resume, find out what their background is, who they hang around with, do a little consult here, and think about it. Who is that going to be? I think they got that run pretty good. Then you also have land lizards. Land lizards are an interesting animal. They grow to be 3 to 6 feet long and grow mainly in areas that have a lot of greenery and that. And that's important because there's a lot of areas in the Galapagos where there's recent volcanic activity that there isn't anything to eat. So we have the land lizards here, much like this, a little closer up, and then this one. Now, as I go and take a look at this one, look at his hands here. Doesn't that look like a human hand with a glove on? I mean, even he's got a sweater on here. Look at the cuff of his shirt. And it's interesting, one of the things with, in where you go, you have to have a naturalist with you. And the naturalist can give you all sorts of information about the animals, but I also think they're there to keep humans from doing stupid stuff that'll scare the animals away. So that, like those birds with the blue-footed boobies, I was literally 5 feet away from them taking that picture. These probably 10 feet away, so it was real close. They're not afraid of people at all because they've never been threatened by people.
You can't touch any of these.
And your naturalist is there as well to go, you can't touch them, or, interfere with them.
Or put
So-
them in your suitcase.
or put them in your suitcase. And there's also no large mammals that are a threat to them. So they're really not too scared, which is what makes it an ideal place to go photograph. The land lizards like to eat this cactus here. Cactus doesn't necessarily like being eaten, so it's evolved to be this big tree that makes it more difficult for the land lizards to get up there and to go and eat it. Mice and goats have also been introduced into the islands, and they're trying to get rid of them now, but they also eat this prickly pear
Do they
cactus.
have snakes as well?
That,
remember.
I don't remember. I never saw any. That doesn't mean there's a lot of stuff we didn't see, but, and if, just because it's not on one island doesn't mean it's not on another one. So, that's a good question. I have not, I don't recall ever having anybody refer to snakes, so I don't know, but I haven't. Now, when we're talking about evolution, here's another one. This is called the marine iguana. The marine iguana only lives in the Galapagos Islands. It is the only lizard that feeds primarily underwater. It eats algae and stuff like that. But it's evolved a little differently from the land iguana, as you can see, but look at these hands. Same kind of hands as the land iguana that you had before. Now, one thing that is a little different is that this tail is much thinner, which it uses to help swim, which the land iguana doesn't have the same needs. So that's how they've evolved a little bit differently. And look at how well they blend in with the lava that it's around there. You could easily miss them.
And how big are these?
These are much smaller. I don't know exactly. The ones that we saw were probably about 1 foot to 1.5 feet, something like that. Inland freshwater areas might deal with a black-necked stilt. Flamingos. Now, these are Caribbean or American flamingos.
They migrate down there?
That's a good question. They're certainly in a lot of other places, so I would imagine that could be the case, but I don't know. Another area. Then you've got the giant tortoises. The giant tortoises can live to be 120 years old, generally live to be 80 to 120. There was one that I think lived to be older, and they actually have him in a Charles Darwin research area in a big case, recently died. But these are obviously very big, very slow moving. And then you have swallow-tailed gulls. There you can see it's getting a little bit more beachy here. Seals. Seals were driven almost to extinction by killing for their hides, but they're coming back. What's over there? Well, as you can see, there's some pretty nice beaches there on the Galapagos Islands. This was one where we could go swimming if we wanted to. Turning a little bit to your right, you see the combination of sands and then your more recent igneous rock there. That's the boat that we were on, our boat. And the boats, as they go around, are only allowed to go to a single location once every 2 weeks, so that your locations are not getting overpopulated. And in fact, they don't want more than one group there at any one time. We passed some groups going the opposite direction in a path or something like that occasionally, but otherwise, we were pretty much the only ones there unless we were in a city area, a town area. There's only 3 in that area. So you can see that the igneous rocks coming in, some of that can be pretty rough, which would indicate it's much more recent. And then you've got these Sally Lightfoot crabs. Now, I give you this picture, not because it's a great picture, but to show you how many of them there were around here. Here's what the crabs look like. Very colorful crabs. Probably one of the most colorful animals I've ever seen. A little different location. All of those are Sally Lightfoot crabs. Moving on, onto the shore areas. Again, you've got the igneous rock behind this blue heron. Let's see, and that was the swallow. Again, and then here I was talking about different sorts of places. And you can see here, we don't have the vegetation here that we had on those first pictures. And there aren't any cactus growing. This down here is a fairly recent geologically lava flow. And they're actually on the edge of a tectonic plate so that the plates are moving together. And as the land is moving, then where the volcanoes pop up change. And so that what's new and what isn't sometimes are pretty close together. So this is, very new flow here. You can see the cone here, nice and close. Looking at it from the sea level area, you can see there isn't anything growing in here. There's one cactus here, but that's on an older flow. Inside some of these areas, there's actually some lava tunnels. That these are tunnels that were lava flows. On the top, it cools faster because it has contact with the air. So you have a shell forming on the upper part of it. The lava is still flowing through the tubes. The lava flows through. When it stops, then the clears right on out, and you've got these lava tunnels that can go for miles underneath. Here's back to the same picture a little bit further back, but I want to turn around to show you the contrast. Here's looking the other direction from the same point. What's interesting here to me is that this green area here, these are plants that have evolved so that they can actually drink seawater. Doesn't have to be pure, lake water or whatever. They can take the salt in, get rid of the salt, and to survive on that water source. Obviously, if you have lava flows and other stuff, some plants grow earlier than others. This one growing out in the middle of nowhere with very little else around. And as you can see, it's pretty much rock except for just a little bit of sandy, broken up rock in front of it. As it's been a little bit older, then you get more vegetation coming in. And in those areas, you get a lava lizard, which is a very colorful little guy. He's only, about as big as your fingers can stretch. The main part, his tail's a little bit longer, but a very small little lizard that's going on. One of the things that I think, again, is interesting is how well animals blend in. So this is obviously a area that's been around for a long time because all of these boulders are so rounded. And then you see the sea lion? Sea lion's right in here, but blends right in to be able to see what's going on. Moving on, brown pelicans in the ocean. And then we're going to go to some photos. About half the days that we were there, we were snorkeling as well. And so the snorkeling pictures were taken with my little GoPro. If you're
very wide angle, so that they're going to be cropped. But I didn't want to put in mega bucks to get a camera when I had this one. It would go underwater. It's $350 to get one for a case for a cell phone. When I was going to get a new cell phone within next year, so we did it with
GoPro. If you're in one of the cities, you'll see, or one towns, a lot of boats because that's the only way that you can get around. You get the Zodiacs out to your boat. And as I said, we were snorkeling. So here's one that I took, snorkel. And with the snorkeling underneath, the sea lions love to go and play with people and play with each other. So they'll be coming in and doing different kind of antics. And then we were warned that one of the things that the sea lions like to do is to come full speed straight at you and then turn at the last minute. So that's this lady here. You can see this sea lion is just turning, within a couple feet of her, having come straight into that. We also saw some white-tipped reef sharks. These were probably about 60 feet below us. And as I go through some of these slides, be a little bit mindful of the different currents that are coming in because some of them are going to be much clearer than other ones based on where they are. And I thought, well, I'll try to get some cleared out. And then I thought, I can do a little bit of that, but I want to show the difference in clarity. So here's some yellow-tailed surgeonfish. And they also were observed in some very tight schools. But you see how cloudy the water is here in this one. This is a king angelfish that are going in. Some hammerhead sharks. And they were about 60 feet down below us.
Were you concerned with those?
No.
No?
No. They were 60 feet below us and they could care less if we were there. And the naturalist is there and I trusted him a lot. We were very fortunate. We had one of the original naturalists who trains many of the other ones. He'd
Oh.
been doing it like 30, 40 years. He knew what he was doing. He has explored some of the islands. He showed us some caves he has discovered that other groups don't get to see. So yeah, if there was going to be a danger, they wouldn't have been putting us down there, I hope. These are rays. I'm not sure what kind, whether it was a stingray or one time I thought it was another one, but then I took a look and said, no, that doesn't have the right shape. So I'm not sure what kind of ray it is. Well, that's what I was guessing it was a manta ray. And then I was thinking, well, but I'm not sure about that because, and I don't know, it seems to have white underneath it. But all right, so that's confirmed. You have different kinds of turtles. This was actually taken from a kayak, which we did several days. And then you get the green, Galapagos green turtle coming up from the bottom here. And this is the azure parrotfish coming in there. And the male blue-chinned parrotfish. That's what you see these sometimes in the Caribbean as well. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. And then a pufferfish. Now the pufferfish normally we wouldn't see, I wouldn't have seen, but the naturalist went down and pulled it out between some rocks so the pufferfish could put on his show. And what they do is puff themselves up big so that they look ferocious. And obviously this one is swimming away from the other swimmers who just happened to be meaning that it was swimming right toward me, which I was pleased to see. And then this is a Galapagos starfish. And what's interesting with the Galapagos starfish is that when they're down at the bottom of the ocean, they look black. But if you bring them up to within 3 feet of the surface, that's what they look like. It's the same starfish that you just saw back here. See that here.
I think it your naturalist was moving some of these animals for you.
He was picking this up. That's right. Absolutely. We were not touching them. And here is our naturalist. And if you've been to the Galapagos, you know about the post office. But the post office is a barrel, essentially, where there was established back in, I think it was 1792. Depends on who you believe, whether it was established by the whalers or the pirates. The naturalist said it was by the pirates. The internet says it's the whalers, which is probably more credible. But how do you go and get messages to other locations? And what they established was a rule that if anybody's leaving the Galapagos Islands, to stop on Fiorna Island first to the post office bay and check this barrel and see if there's any letters that are going anywhere close to where you're going. And then if you are going there, you pick them up and deliver them personally to wherever they're going. That tradition is still going today. So that we dropped off one postcard and picked up 3 postcards and delivered them to people in the Denver area. All 3 of the people in the Denver area, it was about 3 months before they had dropped it off, before we had picked it up and they received it. With the one that we sent to California, I think it took about 4 months. But you can imagine back in the day, it may be years before somebody is going to the location that you want to have. So that's what was their means of communication at that time. And you can see the stuff that he's picked up that's all wrapped in plastic so that if it rains, it won't get damaged, which is an interesting tradition. So that's pretty much what I have for the Galapagos Islands. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions from you at home?
So you took dinghies from from your ship to land?
Yes,
And always on those
always the Zodiacs.
Zodiacs, okay.
Yep, right there. Yep.
How long did it take you to get down there from here?
Let's see, I think we didn't go direct. We went from here. I'm trying to remember if we didn't go to Newark, I don't think. Did we go through Atlanta and then come back through? So it's a long trip. And then we went and spent 3 days in Quito before we went and joined the ship. And that was interesting with Quito, that they have obviously some stuff that's set up right at the equator. And you know, you have the things with, all right, one side of the equator, if you flush the toilet, it'll go one direction. The other side, it'll go the other direction. Yeah, because it's spinning differently at that, and that gets longer, but that was fun to do. They had us doing some other kinds of things that
What are the locals like? Do they speak English, Spanish, Portuguese?
pretty much Spanish. And in Quito right now, our hotel was right kitty corner from the presidential palace, which we didn't know at the time. But the president is trying to battle the drug lords and bring some of the drug stuff under control. And this is last April, so it's a year ago. And the drug lords, for some reason, aren't too pleased about that. And so the president of Ecuador is in hiding, running the country from who knows where, probably moving all the time. But we really didn't feel unsafe even with that. There were, you know, rails around the area to keep people from getting too close, but there were plenty of townspeople that were there, and they were definitely, you know, speaking Spanish.
So Roger, how did you find this cruise or this tour that you went on?
We found it through adventure travel.
Okay.
Adventure travel, my wife had used a long time ago. When we went to Antarctica, we used adventure travel, and then we used them again here. They have been absolutely outstanding for out of the way kinds of travel kinds of stuff, and saved us a ton of money when we went to Antarctica. I think they said, we can go and book you on National Geographic if you want, but this one's gonna cost you $6,000 less per person, and it's gonna be just as good. And it was. And you can go online and go and just look at the boats and where they go, then check out what kinds of stuff you see on those islands to decide. But Adventure Travel did a great job. And
So when you
Yeah.
were on land, were there specific trails you had to stay on? Or-
if there were a few that we were following trails, yes. If going anywhere, there would be a specific trail that we needed to be on, yes. So that they did that. But like the land iguanas were
Right there.
photographed from a trail.
Yeah,
Yeah. And when I photographed, we were on a 7-day trip that there were 4 people, I think, on the one that were on it for 4 days, and there were 3 days, and then another group took their place. They had teenagers, the 4 people 4. And that was when I took the land iguanas, so I was way back because they could care less about what was going on and just talk going on. But yeah,
Is that the only turtle you saw?
the only kind of turtles. Oh, the big one. That's the only big one that we took, other than the one in the Darwin's museum that's dead, but was basically when he died, they went and stuffed him, yeah.
So was that particular island that you were on known for one species over another,
Of turtle?
or any?
San Cristobal Island, the geologically oldest island and home to the oldest settlement on the islands. San Cristobal claims the most spectacular landscapes in the Galapagos. Cloud forests in the highlands are perfect habitat for giant tortoises, and Puta Pit is one of the only places to see red-footed boobies. We didn't see red-footed boobies. Floriana Island, which we did go to, the Punta Cormorant, a flamingo lagoon, can be found behind white and black mangroves. Clearwater, interesting coral reefs make Devil's Crown a perfect spot for snorkeling. Floriana is also home to the Post Office Bay, which we saw. 18th century whalers used a barrel as an unofficial mail drop. The custom continues today between Galapagos visitors. So, this is just off the internet that you can get. We also had a friend of my wife's who has taken 24 college trips with college students to the Galapagos. And he's the one that said, if you want to scuba dive, go up north. If you want this, go to the south and the southeast. So that's how we went and did that.
I saw there was one big island.
Yeah.
You didn't go to that?
We did not. My older brother has gone to that. And what was interesting with my older brother, he's handicapped from falling several times on a horse, fox hunting. So he's in a wheelchair. And there are cruises that you can actually take wheelchairs to the Galapagos Islands. And they went on the big island, but we didn't.
You want to show that slide of the map again?
Yeah.
What was the weather like down there, Roger?
I did not go and say that. The weather for us, we went in late April. Late April is the best time to go. We had some friends that went about 3 weeks earlier, and it was burning hot. And you'd think that basically from December to May is the hottest and wettest part. So you'd think, oh, that's when I don't want to go. So you're talking June through December is the coolest and driest. That feels a whole lot better, particularly at the equator, right? Wrong. What the people told us was the worst time to go is in the summer when most people go, because that's where the roughest seas are. And you've got 4 different currents coming in there, and they get some real heavy seas during the summertime. And we didn't have much rain at all. By the end of late April, it's cooling down. It's not as rainy, and we didn't have much at all, as I said. So that they say late April is the prime time to go.
So you actually flew from Ecuador here and then picked up the boat where you
We
traveled
flew,
around?
we flew from here to Atlanta or someplace, and then down to Quito, and then took a plane to the Galapagos Islands from Quito.
And then you lived on the boat.
Then we lived on the boat the entire time, and then flew back to Quito to Denver.
And what was the food like?
The food in the endemic was absolutely wonderful.
A lot of seafood?
Yeah, I mean, we had a full variety of different kind of stuff, but yeah, there was a lot of seafood in it. Yeah, I have lots of other pictures of the endemic, but
Yeah.
I figured most people are going to be interested in the animals. The funny thing is that one of the ladies in the trip went and dropped her snorkel. And so a sea lion went and picked it up. Oh. We were trying to play it. No, we didn't bring it back to her, but we're on the Zodiacs going back to the boat, and we spotted it. And it was going up on shore with the snorkel. So the naturalist went and ran after it and got it back. Yeah, he did. But I mean, it was like a toy to the sea lion. He thought it was, I mean, it was bright yellow or something like that,
Yeah,
It was funny.
it's worth going to see, as you, like he said, that the animals, he's there. You
You don't need to have a telephone.
don't need
lens,
your
yeah.
600, no.
Well, and I had a blue-footed booby that.
Was
he
courting you.
Yeah, he was mating with me, and I mean, I looked down at my feet and I go, I'm gonna get in trouble, you're so close to me, now leave me alone, but he just kept following me, he was right next to
He
me.
did his whole dance and everything.
He was doing his dance.
Did you have blue sandals on?
No, I did not, well, no, I
I
didn't.
know.
Really, it's a place to go see.
What lens did you use down there?
I used Canon 100-500 for some of the stuff, and then the 24-105 for something at 5 feet away. So I was using, and the other one then is the GoPro Hero that I used for the underwater stuff.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Makes me want to go immediately.
Well,
Looks like Tony Lazzari is going in 2026 of February, so with Overseas Adventure.
I've had very good luck with overseas adventure travel. Never done something like this with them though, so I don't know how they do.
Okay, I guess we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah,
Thanks
so thanks for your
very much.
home. Thanks for staying in. We'll have the recording out in a week or so. And everybody have a good night at home.